what I hate about cybersecurity. Go.
I think that we've ultimately normalized looking secure instead of actually being secure in the industry. And what I really mean by that is how organizations are really good at passing audits, checking boxes, and showing fantastic dashboards. But if you actually simulate a real attack path, a lot of that is going to fall apart really quickly.
It's time to begin the CISO Series podcast.
Welcome to the CISO Series podcast. My name is David Spark. I am the producer of the CISO Series, and joining me as my co-host, he's one of your favorites. It is Mike Johnson, the CISO of Rivian. Mike, say hello to the audience.
Hello, audience. Great to be here with you today.
He really means that.
I mean it, just like I'm one of your favorite in that there's only like three of us.
He's one of your favorite. He's the original.
Yes.
He's the original. By the way, we're available at CISOseries.com. If you do not spend all your time there,
Yeah, what are you doing?
then hopefully you're getting your work done. Though, but hopefully you're spending a good amount of your time there. And we have other programs. We got 4 other programs, plus we produce lots of content. By the way, follow us at CISO Series on LinkedIn if you're not already doing that as well. Let me mention our sponsor, a phenomenal sponsor of the CISO Series, and that would be Vanta. Automate compliance, manage risk, and accelerate trust with AI. That is Vanta. We will talk more about that a little bit later in the show.
Oh.
But first, Mike, I want to talk about something that has been driving me crazy.
Oh, the target. Okay, great.
And I'm just a journalist, but you are the target of this. And that is these research reports that vendors commission that simply validate their existence.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm talking about? And it's do you know that 3/4 of CISOs are concerned about this type of attack?
It's amazing, whatever that is.
Whatever that is. I'm sure you've seen a few of these. I keep receiving these reports. I receive some they go, we're about to release a report under embargo that's going to mention this and a lot more. And I go, that's not news.
Shh, don't tell anybody.
That is not news. But the thing is that this still plays into the good old-fashioned world of FUD.
Yes.
Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And I go, that in no way does that help a security professional build a security program. But I just want to, I want to know, what is your reaction to those? My guess is it's like window dressing, you don't see it. But second, and we've talked about this before, there are reports that do help you, correct?
Yeah, the ones that you're describing, I'm numb to them. I don't even notice them anymore. I understand why vendors do these, and I understand why that there are CISOs out there who enjoy them. They use them to validate their own investments.
Yes.
This is proof that I did the right thing or that we're doing the right thing.
Good point.
The types of reports that are useful are the ones that are by independent labs, or they are by non-security vendors.
But let me qualify. You have said that you're a big fan of the Verizon Data Breach Investigation Report.
Exactly. That is an example of one that is impartial. And that's really where I was headed, is the best ones are the ones that are impartial. They don't have an agenda other than to share the information or to share the research that they've spent a lot of time on. The Verizon Data Breach Investigations Report is really one of my favorite for that reason, and it's been consistent, for decades now.
Yeah, and the thing is, it comes out once a year, and it means so much to the industry.
It's the equivalent of in the futures markets, where there's like the annual farms report or the annual futures for mining. Those things are very heavily watched out for.
It's for CISOs to grow their cyber crops.
Yes. Grow our cyber crops.
All right, let's bring in our guest. Very thrilled. First time this guest has been on the show. He has an enormous collection of guitars behind him. It is the CISO for the TMX Group, Mike Mello. Mike, what is behind you? Are those basses or guitars?
These are all electric guitars.
All electric guitars. It's quite a collection. How many are there? I think I only see part of them.
Yeah, there's 55 in this room, if you could believe it.
Oh my gosh.
55? And how many hands do you have?
I still only have 2, but I make it work.
All right. Thank you for joining us, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
It comes down to the fundamentals.
Quote, every point of friction has a cost. If it doesn't earn its place, it shouldn't exist. End quote. This is Brett Conlin, CISO over at American Century Investment, and he frames it as deceptively simple. Friction doesn't just slow teams down, it changes their behavior. Extra approvals, redundant tools, processes that exist, quote, just in case. These all feel defensible in isolation, but collectively they push people off the intended path and onto workarounds that introduce the exact risks the controls were meant to prevent. The real tell is that controls get added faster than they're removed. Most security programs never ask if an existing process meaningfully reduces risk or improves outcomes. Is it, I'm going to ask you, Mike Johnson, as simple as asking that for your controls and processes? I mean, can you just ask this question? And if so, how much extra process baggage are we all sort of holding on to?
I think the most interesting point in here is about the introspection of your current controls.
I mean, I got to imagine not a lot of people do this.
You don't do it because it's too easy to leave that which is in place. Leave it there. Mm-hmm. Inertia is a powerful force. And so people tend to leave those controls in place. And there's also, as security professionals, we are also risk management professionals. There's an element of risk involved in removing an existing control. If you remove that and then there's a incident, it's not going to look very good. You know, why did you do that? So I think people are very hesitant to look at those controls, because if you're not going to remove them, then why are you spending the time even looking at them? But in terms of dealing with it, there are natural opportunities that occur all the time. Like if you get a new team member, just ask them, hey, what do you think of our controls?
New eyes definitely help.
The new eyes really do help. And that's one of the opportunities that you have. There could be some other business shift, a new technology shift, like, I don't know, AI. Like that's a really good opportunity to take a look at your existing controls and then say, you know what, these aren't holding their weight anymore. Let's get rid of them and let's either replace them with something else or just genuinely eliminate them because they're not bringing any value.
All right. Mike, I'm going to throw this to you. Have you done this exercise? And I'm interested, have you actually removed a control?
Yeah, great question. The answer is yes and yes.
Okay. And I'm interested in the process that went into it too.
Yeah. So I think, again, like great call outs by Brett and Mike heavily echo everything that you're saying here, right? Like I think companies have what I would call these legacy controls, just as like they have legacy tech, and instead of tech debt, it's really control debt, right? And I think we've created this culture of adding controls is safe, and then removing them is risky, as you were alluding to there, Mike, right? And so I think that what we're seeing is we see controls accumulate, right? The workarounds are increasing because the easiest path forward is always the path the end user or anyone will take, right? And so we have to make security extremely simple and the easiest path forward. If it's not, we'll have workarounds and user behavior just won't adopt what we're implementing. I actually have instilled a mindset behavioral shift with all of my teams. Anytime I'm from my previous companies or current company, really I ask my team to always be mindful of 3 questions. Those 3 questions are, do we absolutely have to be doing what we're doing? If we are, is this the most efficient and best way to do it? And the third one being, are we getting the value or output that we expect of that object or widget? And so when we look at this from like a control landscape, this is very much this mindset of challenging the norm or how we've always done things. And I'd say that one of the biggest things in making that determination or decision around removing a risk is that it has to be a measured decision, right? And not like a career risk, as Mike was alluding to, because we can sometimes want to remove things, but I think there's also, you have to have the evidence behind it to really assist with the acceptance of the risk removal. And you kind of have to quantitate why and whether it's not working or it could be better, it needs to be tweaked. We do this a lot in SOC anyways, right? When we're tweaking use cases and so forth, it's a very similar type of construct. So, but it does take time to go through, quantitate what you're seeing, and then put it into effect.
How can we align different departments' objectives?
Quote, one innocent prompt has led to the spread of customer financial data into multiple exposed, unsanctioned locations, end quote. Pranava Aduri of Bedrock Data sees most data security tools working like X-rays. They see patterns like credit card numbers in an S3 bucket, but miss the soft tissue of lineage, entitlement, and business context. An MRI sees a whole organism, not just what data exists, but who touched it, where it came from, and whether that access made sense given policy. Right now, legal writes the policy. The business holds the context. Security manages the controls. None of them are looking at the same picture. So if an X-ray tooling can't see what AI workloads are doing with the permissions they've been granted, how does any compliance obligation get enforced? And I mean, do you believe this premise, Mike Mello, that these three groups are working in silos and they're sort of having different viewpoints on the environment?
Absolutely. I think this has been a challenge even back in the data governance layer of an organization and having strong data governance posture. And so I've been a strong advocate of data security programs, especially at the dawn of the DSPM revolution, say like almost 4 years ago now. And Pranav is definitely on point here. I think his core points are very accurate. I would say that data inventory, data lineage, these are all fantastic things, but there is this fragmentation between the different business groups. And similar to how we're looking at governing AI with this shared accountability and responsibility, I think the same needs to be applied to data security, right? Everybody needs to have an understanding of, what is this data? Why is it here? Where does it come from? And what do we do with it to be able to govern it? And especially as we start looking at getting into agentic AI, if you do not have the foundations and fundamentals at play in your data security program, it's going to reap an exorbitant amount of havoc in your organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's, by the way, that's a good way of saying it's going to be havoc in your organization, not just for the security and privacy, but privacy over to the legal department, but with everybody else trying to make sense of it. It's just going to go out of control.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to throw this to you, Mike. Mike, do you agree with the sort of the analogy of X-rays and MRIs that Pranava put forth here?
I'm a little lost with the analogy, but conceptually
well, you're not a doctor, Mike.
And I don't even play one on TV.
No.
But I recently stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. Anyway, I think the concept and really what they're trying to get across, and as Mike was mentioning, you need to think in terms of systems. Like it can't just be these individual components. All of these fit together.
Well, a body is a system, and I think that's what he's also talking about.
Exactly. And I think that's fundamentally what the attempt at the analogy was to really talk about an enterprise or a set of environments as a system rather than just their disparate components. And I think that is something that's very much long been needed. And it's all the more so in this world of AI where these systems are using data in ways that we don't expect. They're not deterministic systems. And so we can't say, well, it always uses this data in this way. Knowing what you have, where it comes from, and how it moves through your environment. Mike was referring to data lineage. That is really critical so that you know what are the correct controls to put in place, that you're not just adding unnecessary friction, that you're actually bringing value to those controls. And ultimately, the goal is to enable the business to move faster. Like that's always what we're after. Everyone is very much like, there's always a little bit of fear of AI. But if you know what your data is, where it comes from and how it's going to be used, there's a lot more freedom that you can give to the business to go faster.
What's the one thing in business that's spreading as fast as AI? It's AI risk. Yeah. Every new tool your team signs up for, every vendor that turns on AI features, every new integration, each one is an opportunity for something to go wrong. And most security programs weren't built for AI's pace of growth. Enter Vanta. Vanta is the number one agentic trust platform used by over 16,000 fast-moving companies like Ramp, Cursor, and Harvey to ensure they're always audit ready. And now, Vanta is helping companies like yours watch for the risks that show up between audits across your vendors, your AI tools, and your whole environment. How? Well, the Vanta agent works like a 24/7 GRC engineer in the background, finding issues, drafting fixes for you, and cutting vendor assessment time by up to 50%. Whether you're a fast-growing startup or a global enterprise, Vanta is here to help you automate your security and compliance and earn and prove trust. Why not get started today at vanta.com/CISO. That's VANTA.com/CISO. CISO. Remember, add that /CISO at the end. Easiest way to let Vanta know that you heard about them from the CISO series.
It's time to play What's Worse?
Mike Mello, I know Mike Johnson knows this. Mike Mello, are you familiar with the game What's Worse?
Yes.
All right. So you know how this works is two bad scenarios. Both stink. You have to tell us from a risk management exercise which one is worse. I'm going to have Mike Johnson answer first, and you can agree or disagree with him. But either way, you have to give your explanation whether you agree or disagree. All right, this comes from Neil Saltman of Ahead. He has sent us lots of wonderful What's Worse scenarios. And here, I like this one. Get ready, Mike Johnson.
Great.
What's worse, hiring an employee who seemed qualified but proves to be clueless once they start working for you, or a lazy employee who's capable but not getting the job done?
Okay, so you've got somebody who you thought was great and they're just not delivering.
Right. So you kind of blew it on that respect.
Right. Versus somebody who is capable but is unmotivated.
But they're being lazy and they're not good. So I kind of see that it's also both failures on you as a manager too.
That's actually kind of where I was going to go on this. And the one, which one can be dealt with, tolerated, is...
Well, which one also, remember, this is What's Worse. It's also a risk management exercise. Like, which one's going to create more risk for you too?
The reality is, I think there's not enough in the scenario to say one's more risky than other.
Yeah. I think they're essentially equal in that respect.
So, like, we'll cancel out the risk and really think about what's
more bearable,
what's more problematic for the rest of your team. Like, what is going to drag down the rest of your team? What is more...
There you go. So we have clueless and lazy. Those are two bad ones.
And I guess bringing it back, there is an element of risk here that the clueless one is generally going to be the one that's riskier because they don't know when they're about to make a mistake or that they've just done something really bad. Versus, in some respects...
Well, the lazy one could just...
They're just not going to do anything.
Ignore mistakes. Like
they're just not going to do anything. And so...
that means there'll still be mistakes happening.
Maybe the reality is they just don't do anything at all. And so that means they don't harm anything.
This is a Sophie's choice.
It really is. And so honestly, I think I'm just going to go with the one that's clueless.
Is worse
because, at least the one that's lazy, they probably have some self-awareness, but the one who's clueless doesn't.
Yeah, the lazy employee is capable.
Yes.
So that's it. That actually, there you go. All right. Mike Mello, throwing it to you, which one do you think is worse?
Yeah, I think it's actually the lazy employee, right? Because I think
who's capable of not getting the job done.
Yeah, and I think it also matters on what your next decision is. Right? Because both of them, as you guys said, is a management problem. Like, you've obviously hired somebody and weren't able to sift through maybe some signals or the capability side. And then on the other side, you have an issue where turns into like lack of ownership, or there's a signal, right, from just you're not managing that person well. So I think you can act really quickly and like, yeah, you sink a bunch of time into getting rid of the bad hire.
Well, no. Well, first of all, the way the what's worse is you can't change the scenario. This is it. This is what
You're
you got.
stuck with these people.
No. Yeah, you're completely stuck with these people.
Yeah. They're stuck. They're the CEO's son or daughter, and they're staying with you forever.
Oh, geez. Then it's probably the Clueless one.
Oh, so now you're switching.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to stick with my original because
Great.
I think the Clueless one I can educate and train, whereas changing behavior is a lot harder to change than educating.
I think
That's fair.
yeah. I mean, they're going to stay pretty much clueless, but that's a good point. And also, lazy is an attitude problem,
Yeah.
and you're not going to change attitude.
No.
So now the most important thing is we want to know. So you disagree on this, which is great. Have you hired these people before, and are they currently working for you?
I have and no. They're not currently working for me. I think everyone's kind of experienced that.
Which, by the way, have you hired both scenarios? I'm sorry, Mike Mello, have you hired both scenarios?
I've hired one that was clueless
Yes.
early in my career.
Okay. Well, so you were clueless in hiring, obviously.
I didn't have to live with it though, so I was thankful for that. But, no, I haven't really been stuck with someone who's lazy.
All right, Mike Johnson, have you hired either one of these people,
Well, hired,
or been brought on and got stuck with?
had to work with for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And in both scenarios. And no, I'm not working with either of these archetypes.
But you can't tell anybody. Obviously, you could probably tell me their names of these people. Yes.
I'm not going to do that on air. Jeez, David. Were you trying to trick me into just like...
That was the hope.
Yeah.
I was just like, well, you say it calmly enough.
It was David.
And then the Mike all of a sudden will blurt out the name.
Yeah, it was David. He was both.
Oh, that would be pretty bad if you got both. That's awful. But by the way, have you ever had a nepotism situation where you had to work with somebody or no?
I have not.
Have you, Mike Mello?
No, I have not.
No.
That sounds terrible.
I know.
There's gotta be a better way to handle this.
There are now 68 different vendors out there selling an AI SOC solution. Now, this comes from Richard Stenen of IT Harvest. I got the number from him. They all have knowledge of your environment, but is that the same as the institutional knowledge a senior SOC analyst has baked into the system? Can that be made available to AI? That's the wisdom-led SOC, and Ross Young of CISO Tradecraft challenges the handover to AI. So he challenges all these sort of AI SOCs that are out there. How do you test it against the CPR model? And he calls it C for confidence. Can you see why a decision was made? Precision. Can it fix the problem? Example, a malicious file, rather than taking out a system like a domain controller. And reversibility, the R in CPR. Is there an undo button when it makes a mistake? So I will start with you, Mike Johnson. How do you build that into your testing and continuous auditing of an AI SOC? And I mean, is AI coming into your SOC? Let me ask you that.
First, I want to point out that it was 68 at the time of recording.
Yes.
I'm curious to know if it is how much more it is by the time we air.
No, actually, no. So here it is. It was 54 originally.
Oh.
But then, because I had written something about this, and Richard Stenen, because Richard Stenen was the one who said 54, he goes, the number went up, it's now 68.
Yeah.
So it is growing. Like, I got to imagine at least half of them are in the past year, at least.
And so by the time this airs, odds are the number is not 68 anymore.
Although some may fall away. We'll see.
So I'm very much in the build camp when it comes to AI SOC.
Right. I know. And that has been your model as a CISO, and you've had it.
That's where I live.
Yeah.
But I do believe that AI is something that can really empower SOCs. It can really help them get through just the flood of alerts that come in. It can help them design their detection capabilities. It can even allow them to be more tolerant of false positives, because it's not going to be spending time of a human to go and look at that thing. So I genuinely think there's a lot of value here. The trick is, how do you bring that knowledge that your SOC already has into one of those systems? Odds are you have playbooks. So you can bring those playbooks and you can use that to educate the AI. How should it deal with this situation? You should absolutely have metrics and measures and know, are things getting better or worse as a result of your usage of AI? And those are things that I think that people may not really think about when they're thinking of moving to AI SOC. It's like, oh, I'm just going to be able to go so much faster, or I can scale my capabilities so much more. But there's groundwork that you have to put in place first. You have to have those metrics. You have to have playbooks. Otherwise, you're just going to waste a whole lot of money, a lot of time, and probably end up in a worse place than a better one.
All right. Giving the sort of the guidance to health to an AI SOC, which seems to trend these days. What's your sort of, in this CPR model that Ross Young put out, Mike Mello, is this a good way of testing it, I guess, is my question.
Yeah, I think so.
And just to remind everybody, the three, it's confidence, precision, and reversibility are the three CPR. Go ahead, Mike Mello.
Yeah, I'm pretty bullish on AI SOC and more so agentic, right? I think as a guiding principle, I'm seeing this as machines need to meet machines on the battleground, right? And if you think you have alert fatigue now, just wait until you start loading up a bunch of different generative AI or agentic in your ecosystem, let alone an adversarial agentic attack. Like, there's no way to keep up with this. Now, I do think when we look at the confidence, precision, reversibility CPR model, this is where we're going to struggle, right? Because there is a lack of context with these agents in the AI SOC model. And unless your company is extremely well documented and mature in that regard, it's going to lose a lot of context that you would have from a senior analyst. And so what that really requires to be like this wisdom-led model is feedback loops. And we have seen managed SOCs decay over time because we don't give well feedback loops to our managed SOCs, and we don't treat them very well as like extensions to our team. And that is how we're going to have to treat AI SOC, as an extension of our team, and provide this feedback, right, on analyst decisions, near misses, and feed all of that back into the system. I think on like the reversibility side, I look at this as having almost like an agent moderator. So we're going to need an accompanying agentic fleet to be able to engage with agents on our side from a defensive perspective in a lot of different ways, based on our enterprise architecture, or an agent for change management and risk evaluation on what that agent is going to do. Because as humans, we can't possibly be expected to stay in that loop. There is obviously going to need to be an escalation point and so forth. But I think for reversibility, I look at it as almost like a trading market, that we need a circuit breaker, right? So if your agent starts, I would say, operating outside of the norms of the archetype, then it needs to have a circuit breaker and halt it, right? I think that the reversibility is going to be tricky, but I'd say preventative control around disaster is something that we could really look into as a real possibility.
What's a CISO to do?
Quote, if your program only works when you sit high enough in the hierarchy, it was fragile to begin with, end quote. For Brian Blakely of Bellini Capital, the perpetual reporting line debate is a distraction. Security is a horizontal function in a vertical world. You don't control engineering, HR, operations, or sales, regardless of who you report to. You get things done through influence, credibility, and risk communication that lands with operators and executives alike. That's a lateral game, and no org chart position plays it for you. Quote, if I only reported to the CISO, quote, isn't a structural critique. It's an excuse. So I'm going to start with you, Mike Mello, on this. How should security leaders build cross-functional credibility before they have the positional authority to demand it? So, I mean, literally, this is actually for someone who could be nowhere near the CISO position. I'd like to know what they could do. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I love this question, right? Because it's the common debated question on who CISO should report to, or hierarchy being a hurdle from you being to execute or be successful. And I think what you can really do is, again, we have to elevate ourselves outside of technology, speak language of the business. But what that really means is also understanding the business, right? As you really need to understand, like, what makes them tick, what are their driving forces, and you need to be able to make risk actionable and ultimately reduce friction, right? We can't be the beat cops always beating people down here.
And everything you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is something anybody can talk about in security. Like, it doesn't have to be the CISO, correct?
Absolutely. And I think that's really where we start compounding credibility, right? And I think that how people need to start showing up to the business is consistently and honestly solve a real problem that business cares about, right? Be that person that shows up, they follow through, you don't create a bunch of noise, because once people start to see you as someone who helps them succeed, influence will just show up naturally. And I think the irony of all of this is by the time you get the title, you shouldn't need it anymore.
That's a great line. Oh, that's a quote we're keeping right there. All right, Mike Johnson, try to beat that.
I don't think I can. I think that's a very wise way of thinking about it, in that if you're relying on the title, either yours or your direct supervisor, or your direct manager, or your boss, whatever term you want to use, you've already lost. You're not going to be successful.
Good point. Yeah. So the people who do that are either making excuses or waiting for something so they can do something, which you shouldn't have to.
I think excuse is the right way to put it. Like, it is making an excuse for not being successful, for not enabling the kind of security program that a company needs, and saying, oh, well, gosh, if only I had X, where X could be more money, more people, who you report to. All of these, right? And I think that's really the failing of this perspective, is you need to build your own influence, and you can do that without having to say, hey, I report to the CEO, you have to listen to me. Like, if you're falling back on, you have to listen to me, then again, you failed.
But I want to go back to the question I asked Mike Mello. Your advice for someone, even at the lowest levels in security, how they build this level of trust with others, and that people will look to them even though they don't hold any specific title.
A lot of that is meeting people where they are and helping them. Like Mike mentioned it, how can you support them? How can you make them successful? And how can you do that in a way that maybe it's invisible that you're doing that, but this person is aware? And they're going to come to you and look for help. They're going to come to you and look for, how do I solve this problem, over and over and over again? And the next thing you know, they're now depending on you, and you can then implement the capabilities that the company needs. And you're doing so with the context of the other folks in the business, knowing what they need and how to support them. And context is king these days in so many different ways. And this is one of those.
Well, that brings us to the end of the show. And this was a fantastic episode, just packed with amazing advice, thanks to the two mics on the two mics.
So many mics.
We were talking about this earlier. And the 55 guitars, Mike Mello, is that how many?
Yeah, 55 and growing.
Of course it's growing. You can just stop. Let me ask you, what does the 56 guitar need to have that the previous 55 don't have?
Honestly, it's how I feel in the moment.
That's fair.
So you can't answer now. Yeah. It's just going to be,
no.
You're going to walk. So is it, first of all, do you buy these all in person, or are you looking online, or how does they get purchased?
I source them all over the world. So sometimes when I'm on my travels, sometimes online through different marketplaces. But yeah, usually I go for more boutique, unique, kind of collectible side, but I also play them. So they're hanging wall art that I get to enjoy.
Nice.
Right. Well, I would hope you'd play them. So how long have you been playing guitar?
I'd say probably like 7 or 8 years in total.
Oh.
Actually, in my spare time, I moonlight as a student at Berklee College of Music in the guitar performance majors program.
Ah, excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and we would love to get you back again. I want to thank our sponsor, and that would be Vanta. Remember, automate compliance, manage risk, and accelerate trust with AI. Go to their website, vanta.com, and do me a favor, go to vanta.com/CISO. Just a super simple way to let them know, hey, we heard you on the CISO series. This is how you'll know that we heard you. We're going to type in vanta.com/CISO. So thank you for doing that. Mike, any last words? I'm going to say Mike Johnson first. Any last words?
Thanks for joining us, Mike. What I really appreciated, and one of the things that you'd said was machines need to meet machines on the battleground. And I think that's something that folks really need to keep in mind. That's the world that we live in today.
That is a good point.
And is only going to be more and more important. And so you really need to step up your machine game because there's machines out there that are coming after you.
Yeah, like you can poo-poo AI all you want, but it's just like, well, the machines are going to be the ones attacking. So
yeah, poo-poo AI all you want, it's here. So thank you very much for that, Mike. But in general, thank you for sharing your insights with our audience today. It was great chatting with you.
And Mike Mello, you get the very last word here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. This was a blast. I really had a great time. It was great chatting with both of you, getting your insights as well. Again, I think it's all about just sharing and building a community together. And I do share quite a bit on LinkedIn here. And I try to get a little nerdy and guitarish sometimes with my Hot Take Tuesdays. But yeah, I think we just need to level up how we're viewing things and honestly start thinking a lot differently.
I'm in agreement. So when we say think differently, that means don't tell us that X percentage of your colleagues are worried about some kind of a threat.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you very much, Mike and Mike. And thank you to our audience as well. We greatly appreciate your contributions. In fact, let me say this again. I need a lot more what's worse scenarios. Make them creative, make them challenging, make them equal. They could be equal really bad or equal slightly bad. Either way, that's fine by me. And we love fun, creative stories around them. Send them to me. Always need more what's worse scenarios. Thank you very much, everyone, for your contributions and listening to the CISO Series podcast.
That wraps up another episode. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, please do. We have lots more shows on our website, CISOseries.com. Please join us on Fridays for our live shows, Super Cyber Friday, our virtual meetup, and Cybersecurity Headlines Week in Review. This show thrives on your input. Go to the Participate menu on our site for plenty of ways to get involved, including recording a question or a comment for the show. If you're interested in sponsoring the podcast, contact David Spark directly at david@cisoseries.com. Thank you for listening to the CISO Series podcast.